Good morning and welcome to Saturday Morning Comic Talk. I'm here right now with Kevin Davis. So we're going to be talking about a variety of topics. We have one other guest who should be joining us sometime during this podcast. So Kevin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first, my name is Kevin Davis, and I am a comic creator, and I've been a published author for about 2 years now. And I'm also outside of publishing. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm working on my own retail clothing brand and jewelry and different types of things because I love challenging myself and getting to different industries.
Yeah, that's the thing. Once you start creating, you just want to keep creating and find
Most
yourself in
definitely.
other ventures because it's I think it's just a bug inside of us. The
Yeah.
creators can't stop creating, and just like you want to make books and you want to just kind of show other ways of creation out there. So
Mhm.
yeah, excited to hear about your book later on today. So hold on one second. That's our other guest just messaged me, so he'll be in just a moment and he can introduce himself. So like every week, I pick 3 random topics and it just kind of whatever pops in my head for the week or what we talk about, some comic related, some not. This week we have our first 3 topics and our new topic. First topic is, who is the best villain? Now for this
Mhm.
particular one, I said it could be screen, it could be print. We're talking any villain, just which one sticks out to you as the best villain out there. So
Mhm.
definitely let me know what you think. Drop it in the comments. Who do you think the best villain is? And Kevin, who's your pick for best villain when you thought about this one?
Ooh, that was a hard choice. um, but you said print or screen.
Mm-hmm.
I know because I have multiple villains in my head. For
Yeah.
me, that's okay. I know one of them is Doomsday,
Mm-hmm.
because Doomsday is he's a fantastic character. He's very complex. I think that's why I always gravitate towards him because he's a
Mm-hmm.
very complex character. It's very hard to play that character.
Yeah.
Um, Two, Galactus.
Yeah.
I really love the eating worlds. How like he's like, I don't care what you are, I'm going to get you. Basically, this type
Yeah.
of attitude.
Yeah, and
Um,
he doesn't discriminate. He'll take out entire
yeah,
planets with
yeah.
no mercy. Like, oh well, these are some good guys. I'm gonna, these ones lived nice, nice productive lives. I don't want to hurt them. Like,
Oh
nope,
yeah.
your planet will be consumed, and that's that.
Oh yeah. And I love those villains that you don't feel sorry for. Like I
Hmm.
love that, and that's really why I like Doomsday and Galactus.
Yeah,
Um, So that's kind of like the print, because I'm learning their characters in comics, and I'm still getting into comics, like reading them consistently a
yeah.
bit. But on screen, a villain I think would part best. Oof, on screen, um, honestly, I'm not sure about screen. Oh,
Yeah.
unless I go like the horror route, like Hannibal,
Hannibal Lecter. Yeah.
yeah, Hannibal Lecter, uh, Jackal, Jackal Hyde, or what's
Oh, like
uh
Dr. Jekyll and Mr.
thank
Hyde.
you. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Jack or something, but yeah, those I'm
Hmm.
like I really love those characters because one, I just love how dark they can get and they don't
Yeah.
hold back. So that's like my favorite best villains in my opinion.
Hmm.
Like off the top of my head.
Yeah. Yeah, and for
Yeah.
me, I spent so much time trying to think of this one as well because it's kind of like when you see a good villain, they have to have a full arc. They have to kind
Mhm.
of finish their arc. And some villains are like you think, oh, Darth Vader, but the way they did him in the prequels, it's like, oh, you let him go out that way. And after the whole Padme no scene, I'm like, Darth Vader, you're eliminated. You went out weak.
Yeah.
And they've tried to redeem him in some of the the later Disney Star Wars movies and make
Yeah.
him stronger and more powerful, but I'll always think of that no scene. I'm like, oh yeah, cringe moment. That's it. You're off the list. So last night I was at dinner with my wife, and the one that I came up with was Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards. The Hans, who is the hunter who's trying to hunt down the people that are hiding during World War II.
I forgot about that.
He's just so vile. And that's what you want from a villain. You don't want a likability. You don't want this redemption arc. You don't want them to be Maleficent, like, oh, she was misunderstood. They teased her when she was a kid. That's why she's evil. No, just be batshit crazy and evil. That's what I want from my villains. Like, I'm not here for redemption arcs and, oh, you got bullied. So did everyone, but they didn't end up, killing mass amounts of people. So he's great. And even in the end of the movie, he's going to betray his own country. He doesn't care. He's all about self-preservation and enjoying the hunt. And when things get rough, he could have saved everyone, but he's like, no, I want what's best for me. And that's, that villain. And you look at like Hannibal Lecter, he was on my list as well, because he's just one of those perfect villains who he's charming, and you can see why people would fall into his trap. But behind it all, he's just awful. And that's from your villain. Like, they're not cuddly teddy bears that, they once were lovable and nice. Like, no, they're just terrible. And when I'm writing my own villains for my comic series, I'm not writing them as like, okay, what's their backstory? What made them evil? It's like, no, they're just bad. Because I think the more you expose a villain, the more you dig into the backstory and try to tell us everything about them, the weaker the villain becomes. Because villains are best when they're just scary and there's so much mystery surrounding them. So that's something that I look for when I'm searching for the villain. So Hannibal Lecter was one. And of course, there are prequel novels and things like that kind of start watering down the power. But I just think of him from Silence of the Lambs. Like, all right, isolate that movie. Say, okay, wow, what? This is just crazy. He pulled off someone's face so he could escape. And, all the while he was manipulating everything so he could get himself out, looking at that self-preservation. So that's when I look at a good villain. But of course, the more you dig into any of the villains, of course, if they're successful, the authors want to pull them in over and over again. So, good morning, Josh. How are you?
Hey, Josh.
What's up?
All right, so go ahead, give us an introduction. We're in our best villains one, so you can tell us your pick for that one. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Josh. I write stuff. I'm a bit of an adventurer. I do a lot of podcasts. I have a big mouth. Ask anybody that's been and talked to me on the show. It's a gift. It's a superpower. And my villain of choice, if I were talking comic book, it probably would be Magneto. It would be my favorite villain of all time. I think Magneto exemplifies everything a good villain should have, which is he's got a point. The thing about Magneto, the thing about Magneto that makes him so compelling isn't that he's wrong. He's right. In a lot of ways, he's right. And that's the part that makes it really interesting. He's a great foil for Professor Xavier, who at his best / worst is an idealist, right? It's so idealistic. And Magneto is kind of like that bucket of ice, where it's like, yeah, but this. Yeah. What makes Magneto a villain, however, is the thing about it and it actually makes him very human, is this is a man that has suffered a lot, like an incredible amount, and he can't let go of it. Yeah. That's what makes him, that's what actually, break it all down, that's what makes him a villain. And it's so human. Like, he's the best. On personal, like, my personal favorite's Doctor Doom. I'm sorry, anyone that talks to themselves in first person and dresses like that, you have to give them the edge. But in terms of it, like, everything that a villain should be, like, someone that's in the wrong only in the sense of the way he does things, but you understand it because of the pain he's in, right? This like Magneto is probably the most human villain of them all. Like, in the sense of, you can picture it, right? You can picture it, you could see it. Now, if you want like the terrifying villain, this comes from an episode Babylon 5. I don't know if you guys watched that show or not. So
I have not.
Okay, so very late in the series, like season 4, there's an episode where the main character, when the captain gets tortured.
Okay.
What was interesting about that is that the guy that tortured him is the villain, but he's not the villain because he's this uber super powerful whatever. He's not. He's just a guy doing his job. He's got a name. He goes home to his wife and kids at the end of the day. There's something oddly terrifying about the phrase "just doing my job."
Yeah.
There's something very terrifying about that. Because a lot of people, I mean, and I know it's still real because again, we're not going to. I am again not going into deep dark territory here, but I saw some of this kind of thing during the pandemic, 5 years ago. So it's still there. Like it's a part of human nature that's really horrifying. Is we can do terrible things to each other in the name of doing our job.
Yeah,
and that's horrifying. Yeah, but all right, that's horrifying. Like that's legitimately horrifying. Mm-hmm. So, like, those are my take. Like, if you like to talk about classic comic book, like what a villain, like ideally what a villain should be to oppose a hero, I would say Magneto. If you want to talk about the villain that scares me, the Torturer in Babylon 5 scares me.
Yeah, so any of those ones, those real human ones that, like you say, they'll go home and I mean, you look at all these, these mafia hitmen and things like that, and they go home, they got their wife and kids, and they're just kind of trying to lead a regular life, and here they are. Just completely vile human beings, and then they're at the baseball game the next day. Well, so it's a crazy contrast with the way they're built. So yeah, I like that kind of villain. And yeah, for mine, I look at those ones, the scariest ones, like Dr. Doom. He just looks so damn cool that as a kid you can't help but love him as a villain, and then he proves to be a good villain on top of it all. But yeah, the looks, like as soon as you see that, you're like, that guy's a badass. You don't need to know more. You just see him and
Yeah, that's that. But I mean, he's also fun. Like he's
fun. He's a lot of fun, and he's kind of one of the early ones you find because when I grew up, I was searching out all those old Marvel collected editions. So you're grabbing Fantastic Four and Spider-Man, and you're finding all those good villains. But the writing of those years, even though it was a tamer time with the comic code and everything, Marvel still took their villains very dark. You figure Green Goblin kills Gwen Stacy, and that's that ends up shaping Spider-Man's future. And it's those villains, even though they're comic book villains, can go to those dark places. So it's something. I spent a lot of time, and I was thinking of I think I spent a lot of time thinking of movie villains yesterday, and then I actually rewatched Inglourious Basterds. I'm like, yeah, that guy is terrible, but yeah, the more human they are, the scarier they become. So it's kind of like the Thanos snapping him too. He's got a point. You're like, okay, kind of like Magneto. I can see where he's coming from, and he's going to actually heal the world, but killing half the world or half the universe to do it, that's a terrible act.
And tried to kill half the universe? I thought that was you, Thanos, that did that.
Yeah, Thanos from...
And honestly, Thanos is actually scarier in the comics than he is in the movies.
Yeah,
he's significantly scarier in the comics. You never read the comics, Kevin?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, so, definitely check out his whole arc. It's like you said, it's much scarier, and they didn't take it a lot of those directions.
Well, they only give you a small. They gave you a very small hint of it in the first Avengers movie, and that is when they talk to Thanos at the end. It's like they go after her to support Death herself, and he gets this grin on his face. Now, if you read the comics, if you actually read the comics, Thanos is in love with Death. Like death is a concept in the Marvel universe, and she is a personification of a woman. And Thanos is in love with her and pursues her no matter what. Oh, it's wild. Like, he is in the comics so much more interesting. So much more interesting. It's not even right. Just as powerful, just as crazy in some ways, but so much more interesting than he was in the movie. And that's saying a lot because Josh Brolin did a good job with him. But yeah.
I think they created their best villain in the movies with him, because that's one thing Marvel seems to fall short on almost every time is building that compelling villain where it's like the villain just needs to be a foil for the hero's arc, and we don't really get much depth. So Thanos, they actually built slowly and did it right. But like you said, the comic book takes it in much crazier places, and maybe they just realized it would be hard because they'd have to, bring the death into the universe and everything else.
I think personally, this is just my opinion. I think they could have done it, and I could have done the comic in the movies, but that's not the direction they chose to go. And there's a variety of reasons for that. But that's my opinion. I think they could have.
Yeah.
The direction they went in was okay. I mean, I think this like the big problem like with Marvel movies today, pre-Endgame, post-Endgame. Pre-Endgame, there are characters we cared about. We were invested in their journeys and where they're going. Post-Endgame, they have failed by and large, with a couple of exceptions, create a compelling story beat. Actually just had this conversation yesterday. Deadpool Wolverine, the reason why it did so well, it also had a really good undertone of a story inside it as well. In spite of, it was silly, it was over the top, it was gratuitous. But if you actually look at the story they were telling, it's about two dudes trying to find their purpose in the universe. Like something really, really, like it was really, really simple. And it worked, and that's why it worked. If you look at most of the Marvel movies post Endgame, none of them have that. Like none of them. And it really hurts. There's a few exceptions to this. Guardians 3 was, I think, a nice wrap up to that arc. Right. It was a nice wrap up to that arc. Like I said, Deadpool Wolverine was really good.
I didn't like how they did Adam Warlock though, but yeah.
Well,
I understood at the same time, but I still didn't like it.
Hey, to me, Mantis was the biggest missed opportunity in Guardians. Just my opinion. Right. Right. So
she had so much potential. She had a lot of potential.
Well, the comics. I mean, she's so much more interesting in the comics. Like she really, really is. Oh yeah, no, dude, you owe it to yourself.
I gotta check out these comics now because I'm
So you owe it to yourself. So this is what you gotta check out for Mantis. You must check out her Fantastic Four origins, and and early Silver Surfer in the 1990s. Really good stuff there. And for Thanos, Jim Starlin's run on Silver Surfer. His rise to power is incredibly well done. There's a book called The Thanos Quest, which is how he gets the Infinity Stones in Marvel. It's really good stuff. Really good stuff. All right, so
nice.
Yeah, I've read the Thanos stuff. I haven't read the Mantis stuff, so that I have to.
Yeah, so
I have to go seek that one out myself.
So Mantis was in Silver Surfer. She becomes a love interest for him for a very brief period of time in the early run.
Oh.
Yeah, so she's like she's got an interesting. She's even stronger in Surfer than she is in Guardians. But I mean.
Wow.
She's really, really powerful. She's almost like she's essentially a cosmic poison ivy. Like in terms of what she can do. It's just really crazy. Right.
Whoa, that sounds so cool.
Yeah, that's what she is. In Marvel's Cosmic Universe, like back in the early to mid 90s, was so fun. So fun. I know I'm old and I'm talking to clouds. Shut up. But it's true. There's some really good
Oh no, that's good because you have such a deep knowledge of the comic stuff, and there's stuff I have read. I read the Thanos stuff because when I heard he was going to be the main villain, I went out and sought it out so I could read it first and see. It's always fun for me to compare how they do it, but with Mantis, honestly, and all the Guardian stuff, that's one area I haven't done a lot of.
I will acknowledge that the Guardians, the main Guardians themselves, are much more interesting now than they were pre-movie. That was why this is because again, the big thing I remember about Guardians is Guardians was as a franchise pre-movie. I mean, it was some people liked it, but no one knew who they were. So it gave them carte blanche to make the changes they did. Like Mantis, as much as I mentioned she's untapped, I'm a Silver Surfer guy. So and Silver Surfer is become kind of this weird niche he's a cool character, but no one's really done him right for a very, very long time. The last person that wrote him really good regularly was J.M. DeMatteis Bay back in like the late 90s. And even then, a lot of people would tell you like he hasn't had an ongoing since that run. And there's a reason for that. And no one's been able to really do him well. And since that, it's just never been in Marvel's like perception of the universe. There's been some fun stuff. So, like Donny Cates did a really fun Surfer like miniseries not too long ago, but they've never done an ongoing, and they haven't done one since. And the reason being is I think he's a difficult character for a lot of writers to maintain or to connect with. So it's kind of hard to find that angle. But that's just like, again, I've been collecting comics, folks, since the early 90s, so I have a very deep knowledge of a lot of different characters. So
yeah,
that's awesome. That's really awesome.
Great. All right, so great conversation with that one. Now I know I need to go seek out some more books. I'm gonna go hit those up and find those. So now we're gonna talk about what is our most rewatchable movie. It doesn't even have to be your favorite movie, but what's a movie that you can put on anytime, be entertained, and even if you don't intend to, you end up sitting and watching the whole thing. No matter if you press play, you know you're going to watch this whole movie. So, Kevin, what's your pick for the most rewatchable movie?
A lot of time is Halloween or Fast and the Furious.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've not seen any of the Fast and Furious movies. People keep telling me I need to. I haven't done it yet. Halloween, that one, yeah, pretty much any time. If I push play, I'll watch that movie through. I mean, always at Halloween time. Obviously, you hit October, Halloween's one of those staple movies that you have to put on for me. And I always try to seek out some new horror movies every Halloween, but Halloween is usually the first movie in the rotation, and then from there you kind of play your favorites and your classics, but you can never go wrong with Halloween. And then, like I say, Fast and the Furious, it's a franchise I haven't seen, but I know they're just kind of big, loud, fun movies, and something always to be said about that.
Yeah, they started out serious, but it does get, I would say, ridiculous at times.
Yeah,
something like a lot of things are. Yeah, a lot of things are very questionable. Like, what?
I've seen the trailers with some flying cars and stuff. I'm like, all right, that car's strapped to a rocket now, and I think that's why my intellectual brain is like, you can't watch this. It's just fluff. But popcorn fluff is what I grew up on. That's those were the movies I begged my parents to take me to. I wasn't saying, okay, take me to Kramer versus Kramer. I'm like, no, take me to Indiana Jones and take me to the fun popcorn flicks. And some of the terrible popcorn flicks that I'm sure they were rolling their eyes as they were stuck in the theater, but those are the ones that kind of started that love of cinema. Because when you're a kid, you don't want to watch the high intellectual dramas, so your brain just needs to disconnect. Like, you can now, as an adult, you can watch those ones, but you also can enjoy the mindless fluff and the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
So what's your pick on this one, Josh?
Yes, Han. Yes. So my favorite like movie is to rewatch. So I got like three, depending on mood. The original Crow movie is really fun to watch. It's a really, really fun one to watch because it's just a well-told story. It just is. And it's one of those things where you kind of look at it and go, oh wow, like this will it's compelling from beginning to end. The story just really grabs you. It's the world, it's the acting, the character, like everybody in that movie did a really, 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 really good job. And
the music as well. The music is so spectacular in that movie.
Oh no, like that movie is so well done. It's a shame what happened during the filming of it, but it's a really good movie. So there's that one. I like the original Matrix. I think that movie is so
yes.
so wild. Like that movie,
Mhm.
that movie just grabs you, and you once you're sucked in, you're gone. Like that,
Yeah.
that is so.
Or-
I still remember watching that in the theaters, like the first time that came
Mhm.
out, and I know like actually The Matrix is the reason I don't watch trailers anymore. Is
Mm.
legitimately the
Mm.
reason I don't watch them because I didn't know anything about the movie. It just sounds like it sounds. What is The Matrix? Like
Yeah.
that was really the whole. When they marketed it, they didn't really tell you what the movie was
It
about.
was really smart marketing. Yeah.
Right, they didn't tell you what the movie was about. It was just a wild trip,
Mhm.
and you know, as a general rule of thumb, when you have that kind of carte blanche, right? When you have the kind of carte blanche, then you go in there and just get nothing but surprised,
Mhm.
or pretty much from about 30 minutes into the movie onward.
Yeah.
Right, you don't know what's going on, and then about 30 minutes in, boom, you know exactly what's going on. It's just like, whoa, okay, this is
Yeah.
wilder than I could even imagine, right?
Mhm.
And the second movie has its quirks, and the third movie there are parts I'm laughing at I shouldn't be laughing at.
Yeah.
But the first movie is almost a perfect narrative. It
Yeah.
surprises you at
It
the
is
right moments.
so good.
Right, it surprises you at the right moments. The special effects are amazing. The journey Neo goes on is very, very compelling,
Mhm.
and as a result, it's just like it grabs you. And lastly,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go really, really old, but this is for a completely different reason. It's called The Network. It's an old movie. Came out in 1977. Like it's
Mm.
older than all of us here, but me,
Wow.
Mr. Ed. Yeah,
Not me. Sorry.
Yeah,
74 for me. So I'm
Yeah,
just
so-
old.
yeah. So here's the thing about that. It was originally released as a comedy. It
Mm.
really was. You watch that, you're not laughing. You're
Mm.
really not laughing. It is such
Oh,
accurate. Oh no, it's so on the nose. It's actually frightening. When we talk, I just did a paper about tribalism, and that's going to be coming out on a website very soon. Really, a lot of the inspiration for that was this movie, because this movie pretty much accurately
wow.
it is so accurate how he depicts media specifically. So accurate. It's one of those ones where I just look at, like, the guy who came up with this was a genius. Originally, this was a comedy. You're not gonna laugh when you watch it. You're gonna be like, they knew this back in the 70s. A lot of what's going on today
They
was
knew.
in
Wow.
oh yeah, oh no, everything. It shows corporatism at its absolute apex. It talks about how the media works with people. It talks about the idea that to a T. Talks about the fact that people will just trust anything they watch on television for no reason. And it's an incredible, like everything we've experienced over and over again for the last 50 years, a lot in terms of how the media works, how it functions, is in this movie.
Wow.
It is, it's
Wow.
everything. Like there's some one of the most famous lines is, "I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore." Everybody knows that line. It's from that movie.
Okay.
It's from that movie. It's from that movie. So when I watch it, it's kind of like, I watched it with a little bit of fear / like awe and wonder, because this was one of the most accurate portrayals of television and the direction it went in and how we interact with the world. Right. I've been backpacking across North America for the last few months. And one of the stark reminders to me is how television and social media are not the real world. The real world is outside, and a lot of people do not experience it anymore. It's wild.
Yeah.
It is so wild. Like that, this kind of thing was talked about way back in the 70s. Not the social media part, but the television part. It's like, damn, like they were so right. So those are my three.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Great. I have not seen The Network, so that one is definitely one I'm going to seek out. The Crow and The Matrix. Yeah, you're right. And I remember when The Matrix came out, it was the same year that Episode 1 of Star Wars was going to come out. And everybody was banking that, okay, Lucas is going to change the world. He's going to show us something brand new with special effects that's going to, revolutionize cinema. And The Matrix came out before it and stole all of his thunder, because we really had never seen anything like The Matrix before. Granted, afterward, we saw everything like the Matrix, the bullet time and all that became such a cliche in movies that they even parodied it in different satire films. And when it came out, though, it's like you'd seen nothing like it. It just drops you into this unfamiliar world. And, you know, by the time episode 1 came out, it's like, oh no, Matrix owns this year as far as making people see something that they've never seen before and dropping them in that world. But for my pick, I stuck with one. I could have, there's so many movies that I'll just watch over and over again. But the original one when I was a kid that I was just hooked on, and anytime I could see it, I would want to watch it, would be the first Ghostbusters movie.
That's a good one.
I just loved that movie so much because it's a bit, as seeing it as a kid, it's still, even though it's a comedy, it's a bit scary, and you're feeling that edge, and then you have those laugh out loud moments. And that's a movie, doesn't matter where I'm at, if it pops on, I'm like, all right, I got to sit down and watch the rest of this one. So that is definitely one of my most rewatchable movies. I mean, like I said, there's plenty of them. You said The Matrix and The Crow and Halloween. Any one of those, you could pop it on and I'll sit down and watch the whole thing, because those are just beautiful, perfect movies. And yeah, The Crow soundtrack, I play that all the time too, because it's just like, all right, I love that music. Then I hear the soundtrack, I'm like, you know what? I got to watch the movie now. I can't just listen to this soundtrack without actually seeing these images, because I just love the way he filmed that movie, and just that darkness in the city and everything. So yeah, I'm not a film critic, but yeah, that one I can just watch it over and over again. So yeah, great picks. I gotta watch The Network now. I just went in and saved it in my Amazon.
It will depress you. I'm just gonna warn everybody.
The depressing comedy.
It was originally a comedy. Like, it was originally a comedy. Like, at the time, it seemed absurd. But if you watch it, you're like, oh no, this is the real world.
It got too real. Yeah.
No, good God, this is real. Right. So yeah. So
wow.
Yeah. It's kind of like what is the Idiocracy, the Mike Judge one? It's like one day that movie's going to be too much reality. Like, damn, it was supposed to just be a comedy, and now it became our reality. So you hate when that happens, when the most absurd premise becomes our life. That's when you're worried.
You have to understand, like, at that point, whenever a movie does this, whenever like something comes up that really accurately depicts the world, hopefully, if you, I've never seen Idiocracy. I've never seen it. Okay. So I'm assuming you refer to our most recent election. I think the only thing I would comment on that is, whenever something like this happens in the real world, when something like that was imagined in the most absurd form comes true, then maybe at that point, hopefully, people look in the mirror, because at that point, I mean, how did we get? I mean, instead of the reaction and shock of, no, this can't be real. No, it's real. You accept that first, and maybe you need that time to grieve it. But then you got to look in the mirror. How did we get here? Right. So, so when you watch these things, and when you see these things that kind of come true, you kind of look at them. You get to look at, okay, what is it about us that let this happen?
Yeah. Yeah. So getting real right now, but yeah, it's something to think about. So now, taking it to our next topic. This is, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, but in that movie, he's trying to find a theme song. And the end of the movie, he finally finds his theme song, and the band follows him around playing it. So I just thought, all right, if you could live in a world like that, where you have a theme song and it's going to follow you around, and there's going to be a band playing behind you, what's that theme song going to be? And what's the band going to be that's following you around and playing your theme song wherever you go? So Kevin, what's your theme song? What's your theme song going to be when you're walking around out there?
I would probably have more than one depending on my mood.
Yeah.
But if I'm going like a joyful excitement mood, I would probably say, think about the original Power Rangers theme with Mighty Morphin, but mix it with Linkin Park.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
take it in a different direction. So jaunty TV theme with a little edge.
Yeah.
So which Linkin Park song?
That one I don't know. I'm not really sure. But
See, if you're gonna go like Power Rangers, right? It'd have to be something like Breaking the Habit or maybe Paper Cut, right?
Mhm.
Right. It has to be something that kind of
yeah.
has that really in your face beat with it. I mean, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite Linkin Park song?
My favorite, I have multiple. One of them is the New Divide.
Okay.
Burn It Down.
All right.
One of the older songs. I'm not really good with titles, but I just know the. Shoot, I forgot the name of the. It was like the earlier in their career.
So do a couple lyrics. So I know their early stuff really well. So.
Oof.
If you don't know, it's okay, dude.
Yeah. I got the beat in my head, but I don't know how to play it out.
Yeah.
So
and then if you do too many beats on this, they'll knock us off for copyright too.
Yeah.
So
YouTube loves to do that. Like, let me hum that theme song. Bam, copyright infringement. Off you go.
Fair enough. No, fair enough. I would.
Yeah. I'm one. I don't know anything. I don't think I know anything from Linkin Park besides their hit. So I can't be much help. Sounds like Joshua, you're more of an expert on Linkin Park when it comes to
again, he'd have to hum it out. There's a lot like the first two albums in particular I know very well. So
okay.
So and he's talking early Linkin Park, so it'd probably be one of those two.
Yeah.
And I think it's from their first album, I think.
Okay, so it'd be something like In the End or Paper Cut, right? Something like that, right?
Well,
so
it's in that range, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, folks, Linkin Park early stuff was really good. Mine would vary for the years. I would say a classic. If you want to go classic, right now I'd be Carry On Wayward Son. I've been backpacking across North America since July. So I've started in Calgary. I went to Victoria, BC. I went to Portland, Oregon. I went all the way across to Nova Scotia. And then I've gone through the United States. I'm stopping in Detroit until after New Year's, and then I'm heading down into the south, and I'm going to go throughout the western United States and go through the rest of the continent while I'm on it. So before I disappear somewhere else. But I would say Carry On Wayward Son, Kansas, because it's just a fun one. It's just a fun one for that. I have a video game one, like a video game Final Boss music. It's a really cool one called Rivers in the Desert from Persona 5. It's really cool because honestly, here's the thing about that song in particular. It's really cool. It's got a really cool beat. It's an English, like it's sung in English. It's a really amazing, like you listen to it, it's just really, really fun beat. And it's like a culmination of you playing that game. The final boss's music actually is not the final boss's music. It's yours. The character, it's the character. Oh. No, cool. It's like, it's a story, like it's the climax to the your main character because of what he goes through. The final boss music or special battle music is actually, it's not the boss's theme music, it's yours. And once you realize that, it's so
cool. Changes the whole game for you.
Oh no, it's perfect. It's no like that game soundtrack is amazing. Like top to bottom, it's so it's so sometimes video game music, if it's done very, very well, much like movie soundtracks, they fit the premise of the game so well.
Yeah.
So Persona 5 has this like really good, like the music merges perfectly with the world it's in. But your main character's like big theme at the end, I mean, you earn it after everything that you go through in that game. But each song is super distinct. Like usually the boss music, it's a really fun beat. It feels really fun to kick the boss's ass to, but it's such a different beat. Oh, I'm serious. Like you listen to it, it's just like you can see how people would get into it. Like you just like you get in a real groove and you fight. And, like the music does a fantastic job of this.
Yeah.
But the main theme is strong enough that people would actually listen to the song, right? It is an old school it's an old school Michael Jackson song is what that actually
Oh,
is.
I love Michael Jackson.
Nice.
Yeah, no, but it sounds like, and I'm not saying it is.
They got that same vibe going.
Yeah,
Like
oh
that's
no,
a
no, no,
bugger.
no, no. I like honestly, like folks, it's called Rivers in the Desert, Persona 5 soundtrack. If you know the game, you know. If you don't, that song will blow you away because it's so good. It is
Okay.
so good.
Gotcha,
Right.
gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
For mine, I had a hard time as well, kind of thinking like, because I love music so much, to get one song is hard. So it depends on where I'm at. So if let's say I'm going to a con, I'm going to have Metallica walking behind me playing Seek and Destroy, because when I'm there, my brain flips the switch of, okay, I'm going to make every sale. I'm going to get every person engaged. And I just need something to pump me up and get me ready to, sell these books. And just, I have that vision of, okay, I want to get everyone hooked on this series. And probably not the best thing to be that ridiculously competitive, but I look at it just like, okay, that's what I'm here for. I need to take over this place. And that would be kind of the theme song playing behind me. I also thought of one from the band We Were Promised Jetpacks, which is Roll Up Your Sleeves. That song just kind of gets me feeling about working. And it was one of my top running songs for years. So I hear that one and just like I think about moving and working and just that kind of thing. And then the other one would be a Get Up Kids song, which is I'm a Loner, Dottie, I'm a Rebel. And I just love the beat of that one. It just, all those songs just kind of bring energy. And that's what I'd want with my theme song, is just kind of that moving energy. And of course, most of the people out there probably don't know any of those bands, and besides Metallica, obviously, but seek them out, good songs. And I got to check out the video game soundtrack. I know you can find some stuff. I know my daughter loves the Undertale soundtrack, and then you can find, okay, there's a symphony orchestra that did the entire soundtrack done that way. So I want to see if there's anything out there for the one. So what was the game again that you were saying?
It's called Persona 5. It's called
Persona
there's a soundtrack.
5.
You can also go look it up under Persona 5 The Royal. Like
Okay.
either or.
Okay.
The Royal is an expanded version of the first game. It's right, which is still really good. Right? A
Yeah.
lot of the stuff that was in, like they evolved certain things like boss battles and from the first game to the second one, so they're a little bit more unique, right? But
Yeah.
that game's wild. Like if you actually ever see the game, you'll be like, that game's nuts. But yeah, the song is Rivers in the Desert, and it's so well done. It's like,
I got to check that out. That's the end boss song. That's really you.
it's really about your main character. It's once you realize it, like the first time when you start fighting him, there's no music. And all of a sudden it picks up with the beat without the song as he evolves to his form. So when he gets to the boss gets to his like semi last form, now your music starts to play. Now now it's no longer it's such a, say what you will about JRPGs and how they started off as a simple concept and you end up slaying a god, right? That whole trope. The journey your character goes through, like the story that's told, so well done. And that song encapsulates the whole journey. You realize it's like, wait, this isn't this guy's song. It's your song. This is your redemption moment. Okay, this is
nice.
Cool. Right?
Yeah, right. Definitely. You've given me my new list of things I got to check out this week. So
me too. Me too.
And I'm not cool, folks. I'm really not. I just go my own direction.
Oh no, I'm always looking for new things. That's I tell people I have my mission every week is to find one new song I can fall in love with. It doesn't have to be new, doesn't have to be old. It's just something that just blows my mind. And now I have another favorite song.
And the final cool thing about that, and then I'll move on. It's a Japanese band. They sing it in complete English. Yeah.
Oh, they sing in English or
they
Japanese?
they sing in complete English. But they're
Okay.
Japanese. They're a Japanese fan.
Wow.
They're a Japanese fan. It's so cool.
Yeah,
Like,
there's that was a rabbit hole during COVID. I fell in so many weird rabbit holes just trying to find music because no one was releasing anything because obviously there was no point. So I went in and found a lot of Japanese bands that I fell in love with, some Russian bands. So I'm like, okay, Russian dark wave, Japanese post punk. So yeah, I love finding new stuff, especially from other places.
Arabic metal is pretty badass. Just saying. Anyways, that's okay.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Right.
All right. So
Awesome.
yeah, now we can talk about some promotions. If you have something you'd like to share, some things that people can seek you out with. I know, Kevin, I'm going to pull yours up first because I know you have a Kickstarter that's going to be coming up. So let me find that real quick. And then I'll put the link into the comments as well. Right. So this one is in pre-launch, but tell us a little bit about the book.
So the story of Skin Shifter is about this demon called Jacobani. But the thing is, it's a shape-shifting story where it's if you like those alter ego type of stories. So Jacobani is the alter ego of Sabrina Jackal. And Sabrina Jackal is sent from hell by a demon called the Corpus Fiend to try to trap the soul of Maya Fitzgerald. And as you go on a journey of Skin Shifter, you're trying to figure out why he wants Maya so bad, and like who is she to him, and there's going to be some gore, as you can see in that first photo. And it's based on my novel Jacobani. So issue 1 is fully completed. I'm working on issue 2 and 3 now, actually. And yeah, I always say, if you like the alter ego mixed with a evil bunny, a group of friends, and like cabin and woods type of vibe to it too. If you like those type of concepts, I kind of like try to mix those together into my story of Skin Shifter.
All right.
All right.
And-
I'm sending Ed the link as we type. I'm just going to talk about it. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I in July started basically and going on a journey to go across North America. And I did that going from starting in Calgary, Alberta. I went to Portland, Oregon. I had to go back to turn back. So I went from Vancouver all the way to New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, crossed into the United States into Maine, and basically hitchhiked, backpack, drove, ferry, bus, you name it. I've been on this journey to kind of find where I fit. So my Substack, which is my journey here, finding where I fit, backpacking my way to a herd. It's literally what it's about. I have my podcast on there as well, but basically I'm writing all my episodes of some of the stuff I've experienced, whether it's working for a pro wrestling company in one night, to whether going to a comic convention, or maybe hitchhiking on the road, or just living the adventure one day at a time. And I've gone to a lot of places. My final Canadian entry actually comes out tomorrow, and then I'm going to take a holiday break. And kind of sort of I'll be focusing on a fiction story about baseball ninjas on my Substack until Christmas.
Nice.
And then
That's awesome.
yeah, exactly. It's a ninja clan that actually protects people and they disguise themselves as a baseball team. That's literally what I'll be writing about for a month.
I'm interested. I can't wait to read that.
Sounds great.
Yeah. So you hit the subscribe button on there right now. You can actually join them. I will send you a postcard, or a card, I should say, from where I'm at right now. That would be Detroit. But that right, I'll send you a card. I'm going to be launching my paid platform once I finish the next entry, which is now you can tell me all about what's so terrible about my manuscripts and entries and stuff to help me make a better book and a finished book. And if you pay for it, I will send you a finished copy of the book wherever you're at when it's done. Yeah, that's how this is going to work. But you got to pay. Obviously you got to pay for it. But if you pay for it, you will get it. And that's
so you're buying the book in the end, but you're buying the better book because you can help shape it as it's moving along.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And there'll be some pictures. So I gotta figure out what I'm gonna be doing in terms of pictures and photos and stuff like that. That's the next research thing. But I'm going to take every entry. You can see the entries I've written and some of the things I haven't, and you can definitely put it there. And in the meantime, too, while I was also there, is my podcast. I'm approaching 1,100 episodes.
Yeah.
I've had people.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Ed's been on the show.
I think I'm like 5 of those 1,100 episodes. So
no,
I've been on
3 of them. Three of them.
Okay.
3 of those 1,100. It's okay.
There you go.
Yeah, and I mean, and for the last little bit, it's been actually cool. From 1,000 on, it's been almost entirely new guests, which has been kind of a fun little like jaunt. So I mean, my podcast, I interview authors and other creatives. I have a Substack, and I have a bunch of articles being written in all kinds of different places. My newest release was just released from Freefall magazine. I did an interview with author Joanne Clayton. That's in the magazine. I have another article coming out very soon about politics and tribalism specifically. That's the next one. I also have a travel article somewhere down the road as well. So all in all, like I'm a freelancer. If you need something written, edited, or you need some work on your podcast, give me a shout.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you get to California, to give me a shout. And
yeah. California is actually like legit. The thing that scares me about California is Los Angeles.
Well, I'm not in Los Angeles, so you get out here and it's quieter area of California.
Yeah. No, it's all good. No, it's just like LA is the part of California I'm 50-50 on. It's big and it's not New York. I did New York, but it's New York you can travel. LA you can't. Like LA is just weird. So I got to figure out. I'm figuring out California when I get there. So
I'm from California and I avoid LA. So I
have friends in California.
Yeah. So
and they all told me LA is very crowded and it's very hard to get by.
Yeah. You don't move very fast in LA. It's a slow going place.
That I am painfully aware of. Yes, that part I already know. So
yeah. All right. So. For my promotion, I have Wednesday night. I'm working on a new show. It's with Dash Hooper, and that show's on my YouTube, and it's called First Impressions, where him and I listen to an album we've never played before. We play it once, and then we give our thoughts and feelings on the album after only one listen. Last week, we did the new album from The Cure. This week, we're doing Dash's pick, which is an album by Jethro Tull. I don't know. I'm forgetting which one, but I don't know any Jethro Tull albums, so they're all new to me. So we're doing that every week. So if you want to tune in, if there's a week you'd like to join us, experience a new album, and just kind of talk about the feelings about the album, if it's good, or should you be throwing it back into the used bin. So Wednesday night, we'll be doing that one, 6:00. So tune in for that. Subscribe on my YouTube channel. Lots of new content like this live stream going up there every day. I'm trying to build that and make it stronger. So please go ahead and check that out and go and not back the Kickstarter, but go and follow it and get on Joshua's Substack so you can shape his book and get a copy of it and a postcard. So I'll be doing that. And then when he reaches California, I'll find him some good ice cream. I know that's the goal. And I'll get you out of LA. And I also know some good hiking trails if you want to do some good California hiking. I live on the foothills of the mountains, so we're ready to go. Get a good hike in,
love hiking.
Followed by some good ice cream.
That's right.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And we'll be back next week, same time, same place, and have a great rest of your weekend.
Mm-hmm.